Hi guys, my name is Marcus Stewart, and welcome to Call It in the Ring. This is a wrestling and recap discussion show of WWE, Raw, and Smackdown, and we are talking about the latter today, the Blue Show, on the eve, somewhat, of Crown Jewel, which airs this Friday, as well as the night before Halloween, at least the show itself. Halloween has since passed by the time you're listening to this, sadly. Yeah, this is kind of the final push for Crown Jewel, as WWE and most many fans and others are kind of eager to get past the show, which we kind of do a little bit here, as you'll see very shortly. Also, Smackdown taking place in Atlanta, Georgia tonight, which is a big thing because AJ Styles, the first person we see tonight, comes out to the ring, gets the hometown reception, given that he is from Gainesville, Georgia. Big AJ Styles chants. He's just soaking it in, and as he should, feeling really, really good. And he says he's got something he wants to say to Daniel Bryan, his opponent for Crown Jewel, for the WWE Championship, saying that he wants to tell him to his face. Bryan wastes no time coming out, and he starts talking about how he respects AJ and has always respected him, but he doesn't see a respected rival right now. All he sees is the WWE Championship. And that's what he wants, because he's dreamed about holding that thing since he's gotten hurt and was gone for 3 years. And he wants it back. And AJ says that he has a confession to make, and that the Pele kick that accidentally hit Daniel Bryan last week during the tag match with the Usos was actually intentional. And I thought it was going to be like a joke or something, but it's like, oh, I guess, no, he just straight up said, like, no, I did that on purpose, so eat it, I guess. Brian's like, okay, well, he's an honest guy. He's going to tell him that, honestly, he feels like punching AJ in the face right now on purpose. And AJ's like, what's stopping you? And these two are about to come to blows until Shane McMahon comes out. And he says that, guys always say they want to fight, but then they don't fight. So we're basically going to fix that now, where we're going to have Crown Jewel a bit early, where right now AJ is going to defend the WWE Championship against Daniel Bryan. And that seems to be that was pretty much the confirmation that Bryan will not be going to Saudi Arabia, which had been rumored. It was like the report was him and John Cena were like, nah, on going to Saudi Arabia. Cena, of course, was taken out of the World Cup this past Monday, and now we've gotten confirmation that Bryan will not be there because of this match. So I guess it's cool that they at least still did the match, because I wanted to see it. So we got to see it on free TV again. I guess the second time they fought on SmackDown. And yeah, so the problem solved, I guess. And Bryan versus Styles was as competitive and fun to watch as you would expect from these two. Really great match, really great way to open a show. It was a long match. It was like maybe the first half hour of the show. Kind of the story being told was Daniel injuring his knee shortly into the match with a suicide dive, and AJ just attacking that thing throughout the match. It was interesting to hear Bryan get booed, given that he is facing a hometown favorite. So he's getting a lot of no chance, and just fans were not, I mean, he wasn't getting like super like duper booed, but he was getting like a mixed reaction, we'll say. Whereas AJ was just the second coming, more or less. But yeah, this was a really fun back and forth contest. It was one of those matches that are so good that you can't even, it's very easy to lose yourself in it. Like, I think sometimes, like, as we get older, especially as wrestling fans with just so many different distractions, you kind of almost like half watch matches occasionally, because you're like, whatever, maybe you're on your phone or something. But this was one of those matches where like, no, I actually want to see like all of this. And it was like the storytelling with the knee kind of draws you in, and both of them being really vicious with each other, which played into their kind of their frustrations boiling over. Like AJ's slam, like kind of doing almost like heel-ish stuff, even though it really, I mean, it's stuff you would expect from a heel to do, but it makes sense because he's got a body part where he's like just viciously attacking Bryan's knee and slamming it into like the pole and the announce table and all this stuff. But then Bryan just firing right back, just turning up his intensity too. And yeah, this match was a ton of fun to watch and has a really nice finish with Bryan fighting for a while to get the yes lock and armbar, kind of switching between the two as AJ's trying to reverse. And then eventually AJ just kind of rolling, like countering and managing to pick Bryan up into a Styles clash, like kind of a half Styles clash, just to kind of to stop Bryan from trying to rip his arm off. And then after the Styles clash, immediately locking in the calf crusher on the bad knee, and Bryan holds on as long as he can, but he taps out, and that's the match. Bryan does not win. AJ is still the WWE championship, or he's still the champion. He's not the championship. He's not the belt. Is the belt wearing AJ, or is AJ wearing the belt? Who knows? But yeah, awesome match. A lot of fun. Happy to see it on free TV. And then, immediately after match, Bryan shakes hands with AJ, showing that, mutual respect remains between the two. And then Samoa Joe, out of nowhere, comes in and attacks AJ, shoves AJ into Bryan, knocking Bryan out of the ring, and just starts beating the tar out of AJ, yelling that it's not, you thought it was over? You think this was over? And just beating him down and even locking in Coquina Clutch. Bryan comes back in and tries to stop Joe, but that does not work. He himself, Bryan, gets beaten up as well, and he gets choked out for his troubles. So yeah, looks like Joe is back in the title hunt, which I guess it will be confirmed later on that, well, we'll get to that in the show. Keep this in order. Jeff Hardy and The Miz cut separate promos talking about the World Cup to determine the best in the world, saying that they will be the best in the world, basically. Jeff saying it in his Jeff Hardy way of talking about paintings, and he's going to paint a masterpiece of his life. And Miz, surrounded by spotlights, saying that he's going to prove that he's always been the best in the world. Next up, Paige is backstage, and she has Charlotte come to see her. And she asks Charlotte to be the captain of the Women's Survivor Series team. And Flair, looking pretty deflated, not really having the same swagger or pep in her step as she normally does. She actually declines. She says that she doesn't feel she's the right woman for the job. And Paige won't take no for an answer, but says that she wants Charlotte to at least think about it and come back to her. But yeah, I like that Charlotte's kind of selling the loss to Becky at Evolution, kind of breaking her confidence a bit, it seems. You gotta get to see a little bit of a different side of Charlotte. She seems unsure of herself. So I like little touches like that. Next up, we get to the best part of the night, where we have a Halloween trick-or-street fight between Big E and Cesaro. The New Day come out dressed as the damn Brood, complete with the Brood entrance, and even what made me laugh, so obviously they can't do, instead of doing the Ring of Fire, the Ring of Fire entrance, they just have like fake fire with some like people in like some like, I don't know what you call them, but they're like people in morph suits, like black morph suits that are just supposed to kind of like be there but not be there, but they're on the ground and they're holding little like glow stick things that simulate fire, and then they're just on the ramp. But it was awesome, and all three of them come out dressed as the Brood. If you're not familiar with the Brood, it was a faction in the late 90s, 99 to be exact, and it was a vampire themed group consisting of Gangrel, the leader, who was a vampire guy, basically. That was basically his gimmick. He followed vampirism, and alongside him were his two upstarts, his lackeys, one Edge and Christian. That the Brood was how Edge and Christian kind of got their first big break. I mean, Edge had been around before that, but in terms of like the thing that put them on the map at first, it was the Brood, and it was very much inspired by the Lost Boys. But yeah, they were only around like 9 months or so in '99, but they got pretty popular, and they have to this day one of the coolest entrances in WWE. With the three of them had this sick music which they played, and they, the arena's all red, and then there would be a ring of fire on the side of the stage, and the three of them would rise up from from underneath the stage through the ring of fire, and that's how they came up every night, and it was freaking badass, and it still holds up as one of the best entrances ever. You should YouTube it if you've never seen it. So it was hilarious to the New Day. For Halloween, they dressed up as the Brood. Like Big E was Gangrel, Woods was Edge, and Kofi was Christian. And they're complete with the puffy shirts, and Woods had a fake trench coat. They got the tights and everything. Big E even does the spitting of the blood, which he does pretty damn well. Triple H would be jealous. So yeah, I popped pretty big for that. That was great and unexpected. Sheamus and Cesaro come out with the Big Show, of course, and Sheamus is like covered in white powder or something. I don't know if he was supposed to be a ghost. At first I almost thought is he Kratos? Which he has cosplayed as Kratos before, God of War. But I was like, no, he just looks like he just fell into a bag of flour, and he's somehow even whiter than he normally is. So I'm not entirely sure what he was supposed to be, but regardless, this Trick Street fight is these matches can be pretty hit or miss, or like just being super duper dumb, or being fun dumb. But this was on the fun dumb side. The other wrestlers, the ones that were not in the match, interfered in the match pretty quick, since it's no disqualification. At one point, Cesaro did a almost like a reverse, kind of rack attack looking slam to Big E on a pile of pumpkins, which probably hurts like hell. I would assume you at least got the stems cut off, because that would suck even more. And then Big E returns the favor by also slamming Cesaro into the same pile of pumpkins, which is pretty durable pumpkins. Just a lot of chaos here, just hitting each other with props. Sheamus got put through a table in the corner at one point, and then Big Show tries a double choke slam Woods and Kofi on the floor, but Woods spits the blood into Big Show's face to blind him, which Corey hilariously calls that mysterious red liquid, which is a nice callback to the Attitude Era, because they would, for some reason, even though they had the blood baths, they would call it a red liquid. It was it's clearly supposed to be blood, right? I mean, they're vampires. Why are we kind of dancing around that? But anyways, eventually Big E gets the win by hitting the big ending on Cesaro, just in a fun nothing match. As Kofi is leaving the ring, he slips on the apron and falls flat to the floor, which Corey laughs at. He doesn't lose it the way he did Titus O'Neil slipping at the Greatest Royal Rumble, but he does get his laugh in. He's asking to see it again. But that was a nice another moment to make this segment even funnier. And yeah, just a totally harmless, fun little segment for Halloween. And it was great to hear that Brood music again. Shane McMahon is in the back, and he's got all of the SmackDown participants in the World Cup to determine the best in the world. Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy, The Miz, and Randy Orton, who are teaming or competing in a tag match, the good guys against the bad guys. And he kind of talks about each one of them, saying how awesome they are. And then the competitors start talking trash to each other. Miz gets in a pretty nice line saying that looks like his opponents have already started dressing up for Halloween, with Ray looking like a Power Ranger, Jeff Hardy looking like a long-lost Insane Clown Posse member, which is actually pretty good. And then Randy turns around and is like, yeah, you gonna say something? And then Miz immediately figuring out how stupid that would be to insult not only Randy Orton, but he's his tag partner tonight. And Miz just says that Randy's cool. He's just cool. Randy's cool. So, Miz extending his life by a few more years there. And Shane throws in a new caveat. First, he states that what's most important is that a SmackDown guy has to win this World Cup, and that the worst thing that can personally ever happen to him is Stephanie winning the thing, which that's a stretch. The worst thing that can ever personally happen to him is a SmackDown not winning this World Cup. So, if his kids, God forbid, I don't know, got hurt or killed or something like that, or his house caught fire and burned down or something, that would pale in comparison to Stephanie McMahon having a Raw person win a fake World Cup that isn't even an international tournament. So yeah. And he he proves this by adding the ultimatum that whoever makes it to the finals on the SmackDown side, and I'm gonna quote his wording here because it was really weird. He says, if the final SmackDown guy happens to face a Raw guy and lose in the finals, that SmackDown guy will no longer have a place on SmackDown Live, effectively meaning that he'll be fired. Now, he says if they face a Raw guy, but it's not a matter of if, because it will be a Raw versus SmackDown guy, because the way the brackets are arranged, it's like half of the brackets are all Raw matches, and the other half are all SmackDown matches, so meeting in the middle for the finals, it's going to be one Raw guy against Raw SmackDown guy. So I don't know if Shane just kind of misspoke there. It was like, there is no possibility of that happening, that is going to happen. But anyway, so yeah. That was a surprise twist. And so there's two ways. Either SmackDown just wins this and we don't even have to worry about that stipulation, or if SmackDown were to lose, who do you do this to? I mean, Mysterio? I don't know if he's back like full time or if he's only back for this World Cup stuff. So like that could be a way to write him off TV, just to send him away again. Hardy, if he's winding down his career, that could be one. I mean, now that Matt's done, maybe Jeff's not that far behind. Orton, probably not, but you never know. Miz, I don't see it. So like all four guys are such big names. It's like, I don't know who you get rid of. I mean, the person would probably be sent to Raw, but like, that's an interesting one too, because with Roman Reigns gone, that kind of leaves a big void at the top. I mean, you got Braun Strowman, who can take that spot, and then Seth Rollins right behind him. But maybe they just want another baby face, like another big baby face, just to kind of, I don't know, cover their asses a bit. So hypothetically, that could be a thing, in which case I could see Hardy getting moved to Raw. And, just because I don't know how long Mysterio is going to be around, and Miz and Orton are heels. So if that is the mentality of like, we need to have another big face on Raw because of Roman, Hardy would be the safest bet. So yeah, interesting. I was not expecting that twist to be added to that, and it seems like it'll only be on Raw unless Stephanie makes the same stipulation on SmackDown, or if Stephanie makes the same stipulation for the Raw guys, which wouldn't happen until Crown Jewel since Raw is already passed. I don't know. But that adds a little bit more of a wrinkle, and makes it makes it more, this tournament, this meaningless tournament, a little bit more interesting at least. So I guess it serves that purpose. But yeah, we'll see. AJ Styles comes up to Paige and he says that he wants Samoa Joe at Crown Jewel. And Paige gives it to him. And later on, it's confirmed that AJ will be defending the WWE Championship against Joe at Crown Jewel to replace the Daniel Bryan match that we have already gotten. Sure, that works too. Joe, on one, you could make the argument that this will finally be Joe getting the win here, but I mean, I could see, I don't know, I still feel like we're gonna get Randy Orton versus AJ. I feel in my bones like that's the real next big title angle for AJ is Orton. So I'm going to say that AJ retains at Crown Jewel, even though I've been wanting to see Joe as champion on either brand, Universal or WWE, I don't care, just a world champion. But my gut tells me it doesn't happen here. So, but I'm welcomed and open to being proven wrong on that. So, next up, our next match, we got Shinsuke Nakamura, the United States champion, in case you've forgotten, which you probably have, against R-Truth. Apparently, this was supposed to be Ty Dillinger in Truth's spot, challenging Nakamura for the title, but I guess they said he'd gotten injured. He aggravated an old injury in his match with Orton forever ago. I feel like that match was ages ago. So it's Truth instead. This match is fine. A lot of dancing. Shinsuke mocking Truth's dance, and then Truth doing his normal dancing. We even get Carmella running into the ring at one point, and we get the dance break. Give us a nice little reprieve from the action. This match goes on a little bit longer than I was expecting, given that it's Shinsuke Nakamura fighting R-Truth. But it's a totally passable match. Eventually, Shinsuke hits the Kinshasa to get the 1, 2, 3. Fine. Shinsuke still needs a United States Championship challenger, and the perfect person for that would be Rusev at this point, and that needs to happen, like, now. I mean, I know Rusev's challenged him before, but that was a nothing thing to kind of advance the Aiden English stuff. So, like, I would love to just get a full-on program between Aiden and Shinsuke, and for nothing else, to give Shinsuke something consistent to do on TV. Becky Lynch comes out, getting a nice reception as she normally does, and she's bragging her ass off about beating Charlotte at Evolution, and saying that not only can she beat anyone in the SmackDown locker room, but that extends to the Raw locker room as well, and she might have to come over there and start slapping some heads or something. And then she turns her attention to Ronda Rousey, who she'll be facing at Survivor Series in a champion versus champion match, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing, and talks about how, you know, Ronda's previous opponents were all beaten before the bell even rang, but Becky is different because she was made to fight people like Ronda, and that unlike her opponents, she's not going to cosplay or talk about reality TV. She's going into Survivor Series to rip Ronda's arm off. So we're going to have the Battle of the Arm Bars, the arm bar that Ronda uses that doesn't have a name, and to disarm her. So that'll be a fun, if nothing else, the potential chain of sequences and seeing those two trying to lock in their respective arm bars on each other could be really good stuff. So right now it's weird to say, like, this is the match I'm looking forward to most of Survivor Series, but it's the only match that's made for Survivor Series. So, but it's up there. That should be a hell of a wrestling match. Samoa Joe is backstage, and he's talking about how, oh, AJ, you thought we were done? Nah, son, this ain't done. And he starts talking about AJ's family again, asking if Wendy and the kids thought that the nightmare was over, and if they've been changing the locks and making sure that the boogeyman is out of the closet, because this ain't over, and that basically he is going to take the title once and for all, finally, at Crown Jewel. This brings us to the main event of Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio teaming up to take on Randy Orton and The Miz to give us the final, I guess, kind of sell for the World Cup to determine the best in the world at Crown Jewel on Friday. This is just a pretty standard main event SmackDown tag team match, which means it's totally decent. All four guys looked fine. Not really anything to say about this. The good guys picked up the win after Ray hit the 619 on The Miz and Jeff hit the Swanton Bomb to complete the victorious combo. Somewhere along the way, towards the end, Orton just straight up vanished. Like, it was just Miz it was the good guys just running a train on Miz, basically, at the end. But then, as the good guys were celebrating their victory, Randy Orton reappeared to remind us that he exists by RKOing the crap out of Jeff. Ray tries to hit a springboard something and then gets RKO'd out of the air for his troubles, because Ray has been gone from WWE long enough to forget that jumping at Randy Orton is a terrible idea. It is on the list of things that you just don't do to certain wrestlers. Like, let's say The Undertaker. Like, the thing you just don't do when you're fighting The Undertaker is you don't do the 10 corners punches, like standing over him and doing the 10 punch, because he will always reverse that into the last ride. So anyone that does that to him is an idiot and frankly probably deserves to get the last ride. The same holds true for, let's say, John Cena. Like, why would you ever... You should never do a crossbody at John Cena from the top rope, because he will catch you and turn it into an AA. So, like, you didn't scout your match very well if you do that to John. And that especially applies to Randy Orton. Like, never jump at Randy Orton, unless it's with your feet. Like, if you're going to do, like, a drop kick or something from the top rope, you can't RKO your feet, probably. But yeah, anything other than that, you deserve it. So Ray's showing that he has been gone long enough to have like, oh crap, that's right. I forgot not to do this with Randy, and he paid for it, as Michael Cole would say. Miz gets back up, and he is congratulating Orton. He's like, yeah, nice job, partner. And he gets the hell RKO'd out of him for his troubles. And Randy Orton stands tall at the end of the show to assert his dominance because he will be the best in the world by beating all of the people that are only in WWE. So that wraps up SmackDown Live, and that is the final hard sell, I guess, for Crown Jewel, the show that everyone just wants to get to put behind them. It's weird that every time they talk about it, like the commentators, Corey Graves just does not look like he wants to talk about Crown Jewel. And it could just be me making something out of nothing. Like Corey Graves always has the kind of like, what do you call it? Like a kind of like a smarmy, or not smarmy, kind of like a resting angry face. We'll say that. But I don't know, something about Crown Jewel. I can't imagine he's super jazzed about going there. Like I can't imagine several of the roster having to go over there. John Cena, Daniel Bryan were able to get out of it, and others are not so fortunate. Yeah, this Crown Jewel, just like, I mean, political stuff aside, the show just doesn't. Outside, I mean, Joe versus AJ would probably be good, but we've seen it. The World Cup stuff has the added interest of someone getting fired on SmackDown. But the tournament is so just barely realized that it's hard to care about it. I think I've talked enough about DX and the Brothers of Destruction, but I'm very much like kind of the same feeling I had for the Super Showdown match with Taker and Undertaker, or Taker and Triple H, that I don't care. And kind of like about Shawn coming back for this match. So yeah, and that's about it. I mean, that's pretty much the show, is that big tournament, the 2 world title matches. I hope that Braun wins. That's the one thing I'm like genuinely hoping for, is like that would make the show at least better, is seeing Braun win the title. So God, that needs to happen. Other than that, I'm kind of in the same boat of like, I just want to get past this show and have it finally be over, and we can get back to focusing on not 1, 2, and 3 shows, but just one show. Let's just get back to business as usual and just build towards one regular ass pay-per-view in Survivor Series, and just kind of let the dust settle a bit on this crazy whirlwind of a month that WWE has had, for better or worse. So that wraps up Call It in the Ring. Thanks for listening, guys. If you want to find me on Twitter and talk to me about this stuff, you can do so at Marcus Stewart 7. That is the number 7. You can also find the show on iTunes, YouTube, and Podbean at Marcus Writes About Games. Just search for that and you'll find all the episodes for this show, as well as my other podcast, if you're into video games, called Carving Gaming Rushmores. It's a list/debate show centering around a specific video game topic with me and 2 guests. You can find my written video game stuff at gaminghistoria.com. I write news stories and reviews and features over there, as well as my personal website, marcuswritesabougames.wordpress.com. And if you're a role-playing fan, you can listen to me as a cast member on 2 Dungeons & Dragons podcasts. One is called We Wanted Adventurers, and the other is called Dragon Guard. They're both really over-the-top, hilarious, just a lot of fun, just role-playing and just general improv. And you can find both of those at either extralife.com, SoundCloud, or Libsyn. That's We Wanted Adventurers and Dragon Guard. So, thanks for listening, wrestling fans. I will see you next time.